In this video today, I'm going to share with you a golf club that gets overlooked by a lot of golfers, but realistically should probably be in more players' bags. If you replace one of your other golf clubs with this golf club, what you're going to see is more versatility, you're going to see more ease of use, and ultimately you're going to see better golf. So I'm Matt Fryer, PGA professional. I'm going to share this club with you today because it's one that I've suggested to a lot of my students and they found they've benefited from it. Now let's take a look at some reasons as to why you should be thinking about putting one of these in the bag. And remember guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel down below. It's totally free to do. Let's get on with the video. So before I tell you what this golf club is, there's three things that we need to know to help us decide whether we should be putting this club in the bag. And if we don't know these three things as well, we've probably got the wrong clubs in our bag to start off with. And that is going to be who's it for, what's it replacing, and what can it do. And the miracle club that I'm talking about is the 7-wood. And who should be using the 7-wood? Well, common thinking and sort of old school thinking would be that the 7-wood was aimed at maybe the beginner player, a lady golfer, a higher handicapper, or an older golfer. But that trend is now changing. We're seeing tour players in with them. We're seeing scratch golfers with them. And we're seeing that pretty much any golfer could use a 7-wood. So if you didn't know about the 7-wood, they have 21 degrees of loft. Most of them come with a changeable neck as well, so you can alter it up and down a couple of degrees. Now 21 degrees in old school money would have been a 3-iron, and if we were to pigeonhole a player specifically who it might help out a little bit more, would probably be someone who lacks club head speed, who lacks actually elevation on their golf ball, and who doesn't get on with hitting longer irons. Because with that 21 degrees of loft and the slightly bigger head, it's going to be more forgiving and it's going to be easier to launch. So if you struggle with your long irons, this could be that category that it really suits. So what is the 7-wood going to replace? Well, predominantly it's going to be your longer irons. As we've seen time go on and the things like hybrids come along, the longer irons now are becoming pretty much redundant, and the 7-wood could even replace the hybrid. And as you see me hit a few of the shots here, one of the reasons that the 7-wood could be replacing these longer irons for you is all down to distance. We see 3 shots there. The 2-iron and the 7-wood are very close together, but my 4-iron, considered one of my longer irons now, is about 15 yards shorter. The next thing that we have to take into account as well is forgiveness. If we just look at the 7-wood versus the 2-iron, a club that generally is going pretty much like for distance, what we see is that the 2-iron is very unforgiving compared to what a 7-wood would be. And we saw that a trend of the 2-irons were going in the bag quite a lot, these sort of driving irons, because we saw tour players with them, companies were bringing them out, people were buying them, and they weren't really the clubs that we need. Now, when we look at the makeup of the heads, the 7-wood has quite a large sole, it's got a shallower face and a bigger head, so even on those missed strikes there's more weight around the perimeter of the golf club, which means if you don't quite get it, it's still going to go. And also because of the shallowness of the face, it's going to pop it up in the air. As where the 2-iron has that narrow sole, it has a deeper face, and it's not got as much CC on the head, so ultimately the shots that are out of the toe, the heel, we're going to get punished a little bit more for those. Now just a caveat, the 2-iron, if you are good enough to use one of these, I would generally see these in the better players' golf bags. If you've got a higher swing speed, you're really striking out of the middle. They can be very good if you're playing in windy conditions and trying to keep the ball flight down, but they're just not as versatile as the 7-wood. So where are we going to use the 7-wood? Well, a great starting point is on the tee. It is a wooded club. Yes, it's not going to go as far as your driver, but if you're really struggling with driver and you're not confident, it's a club that's going to pop it up in the air. Yeah, it's not going to go as far, but it's quite easy to launch off the tee and start finding a few more fairways. If you're dropping down to 3-wood, you still might be a little bit here, there and everywhere with it, as where a good strike with the 7-wood is going to launch it up and help you find the fairway. Another great use for the 7 wood is off the fairway. Now, if you are a player who lacks a little bit of distance and you find yourself hitting a lot of woods into par 4s, par 5s, even the longer par 3s, these can be great because, so with the 3 wood, a lot of the time, because of the lack of loft, 15 degrees, it's just that little bit harder to get it launched up in the air. And I think it's probably one of the hardest shots in golf, and we find that we fat them, we top them, we get them bouncing down the fairway, and ultimately you're faced with another one. As where, if you were to use the 7 wood, because of that extra loft on it, because of the shallower face, what we'll see, just like this shot here, it's a lot easier to launch it up in the air and cover some distance with a carry yardage, and then maybe leave yourself a shorter shot in and not having to hit the 3 wood again. Another great use for the 7 wood is when you're a little bit nervy with the wedges around the green. We all have that shot that we thin that goes firing over the green, or we have one that we duff in front of us. But with the 7 wood, just because of that little bit of loft that is on the face, especially on tight lies here, you can adopt it to pretty much play like a putter, and it'll just lift it over any initial little collar of rough. And I think it's a great shot and an underused shot, one especially if you are struggling with chipping and you've got maybe a longer chip that you think, oh well, I really don't want to swing this wedge too long because I am scared of the duff. A simple putting like stroke can get you up on the green, and inside maybe 20 foot would be a good shot for you with your chips. But real simple to do, just down the bottom of the grip and just rock it like the putter, and it pops out and off you go. You've got a stress-free chip shot with it. And our final use for the 7 wood, one that maybe gets overlooked a little bit and is maybe a slightly more specialist shot but can still be used by every golfer, is this one, out of the fairway bunker. If you're far enough back out of the bunker and you've got a lip that is pretty low like this one, because of the loft it's going to get up over that, but then because of the wider sole you can just use it to brush the sand as you're going through it a little bit more. So instead of trying to hit that longer iron, the 4-5 iron out of here, and gain that distance back down the fairway, you just get a little bit more leeway with the 7 wood. Now, all I would do is say that you grip down a little bit more towards the bottom of the club to make the shaft a little bit shorter, so you're not going to get all of it buried in, and then just make a normal swing and it should lift the ball out of the bunker pretty easily. Just like that one. Brushed a little bit of sand away, the ball pops, and it's a great use for your 7 wood. So some great reasoning as to why I think the 7 wood is a miracle club and it should be going into a lot more golfers' bags. Go through it and see if any of those things pique your interest. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that video. Go and try one of these out, and if you like the video also, why not check one of the other ones that we have here and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free to do. I'll see you very soon.